Well, I'll get to that. Hello, thank you all for coming, despite the weather outside. This is, it's going to be kind of a lecture, or if you're watching over the internet, a webinar about internet marketing, essentially. I'll start by introducing myself. I am Michael Green. This is a picture of me. You can tell it's me because of the name tag that he's wearing now. A little bit about me first to start with, I guess. This is a plane that I own, and this is the other plane that I own. And when I tell people about the two planes that I own, they say to me, like, Michael, how, it's the obvious question really, is how did you make enough money to own two planes? And the answer is simple, of course. It is internet marketing. So I'm going to start by kind of contextualizing my history within internet marketing. I kind of grew to fame on the internet through a company called How To Corp, which was one of the biggest internet marketing companies on the internet. Under the umbrella of How To Corp, we kind of did lots of different things. So there was the How To Forum, which it had many different names over its time. This one that I'm showing you here is when we called it Sebastian Fox, who was actually, that was my wife's name at the time. And that was the biggest, I think the biggest or the second biggest internet marketing forum in 2004 or so. We also sold lots of products like Traffic Paymaster, which is kind of the second half of this talk will be about that particular product. We also sold lots of toolkits. These were basically just instruction manuals for how to do stuff. Some of them were kind of very, very kind of tech-based, like how to write a newsletter, this kind of thing. But we kind of branched out into anything to like how to improve your golf swing, this kind of stuff. And we sold ebooks. My favourite of which is How to Bounce Back from Recession, which was written in 2010. Right, so back to me. So this picture ended up getting me quite a lot of trouble. Kind of people really focused on this issue of the name tag, and that it kind of didn't tolerate, didn't fit with who I said I was otherwise, offline and that. And then this started to detract from the company, and so eventually we, for the good of the company, really, I had to take everything down for a while. But for the last 2 years or so, I've kind of redid it all, and it's all back online now. It's now hosted at .org instead of .com. But otherwise, it's just as it was with all the old material, and it's FEC. And so that's what Michael Green is doing now. I'm also doing lectures such as this one, and I can show you. This is kind of a more official account of me. This is taken from one of the kind of the about part of one of the ebooks that I used to sell. And so that kind of outlines my previous offline history before I got into internet marketing and all that. The bit that's kind of will bring to your attention, most interestingly, this bit at the bottom is that I only, sorry, I'm in the way a bit, is that I only work 1 day a week, usually, maybe a Friday, and usually a Friday, but today was booked in for a Wednesday, so I'm doing on Wednesday today. The other thing you may have noticed about this particular slide is the image, which I guess you would say might look a bit different to that other image of me that I showed you earlier. And so the first part of my talk really is going to be about images and how they work on the internet, and that maybe in some way this image looks more like me than the photograph of me, and I'll talk about how we get to that stage. To start with, I guess like most of you will have heard of Facebook, at least, if not use it. And I think kind of Facebook is connected to this question of image and this kind of ability to project certain parts of yourself, or to maybe kind of edit out bits of your history that you didn't like or that you would now want to change, which is of course important like in a deeper sense, this the way that Facebook and the internet more widely kind of gives you a kind of control over your identity, such that you can your identity can become a series of kind of positive decisions rather than stuff that is true, you know. And I mean, I guess like maybe kind of self-actualization is a bit far, because like it's in the end it's just an image. You're not really being this person that you're pretending to be on the internet, you know. But you can see how like where the drive for it comes from, I guess. And I think that this kind of thing is partly why Facebook's so successful. Is, you know, it's one of the, along with Google and How To Corp, is like, you know, the kind of giants of the internet. Now, when I start talking about Facebook and the things we can learn from it, lots of people will stop me there and they're like, Michael, you know, I've been on the internet, I've been reading about Facebook, and I've seen things like this, you know, that essentially what it's saying is that this idea of if something's free, then you're the product, you know. And I think this has become more popular recently, and people are kind of taught, you know, this is almost commonly accepted now as an issue with free services on the internet. So they're not free, it's, you know, they're making money off you in other ways. And yeah, this is true, of course, you know, like Facebook does make lots of money, and it does make it off you. But what I'm telling you is that this is a good thing, because by using Facebook, you've already been practicing internet marketing. You're halfway there already. And then maybe even there's something of it, this kind of revolutionary about that this kind of notion of you being the product is productive, you know, because if what you're doing is the product and what the outcome is also the product, then you're both the means and the production, you know. And this is what we were fighting for all along, you know. And so you're already kind of halfway to making millions on the internet, I'd say. But the question really is how to turn your Facebook page into something more like this, you know. And I'd say, like, firstly, just to take the lessons from it, to kind of to think about your identity as part of what you're selling, or whatever you're selling, whether you're selling to people or whether you're an employee of someone else, you know. That more and more it seems like you're not just selling your labour anymore. You're selling a whole package, you know. So you can see how increasingly identity is really tied into any kind of monetary exchange, and to really focus on this idea of you being a product is where I want to take you. And so essentially, if we're saying that you're the product and the way to make money is to work on you, what I'm really saying is kind of what lies can you tell people to make them trust you more, you know, is the simple basis of this. So I'm going to show you a couple of case studies now. Yeah.
You here to tell us what lies to tell on Facebook to sell people stuff?
No, not just on Facebook. This is a wider talk than that. But yeah.
What lies?
Yeah. No, I'm glad you're with me so far. So this first man that I'm going to show you, his name is Bob Lambert, and he's an academic in I think Edinburgh University now. And this is a photo of him in his youth. But back then he was known as Peter Black, and he was a police undercover spy. He used to spend a long period of time spying on eco-activists, and actually, as Peter Black fathered a child with one of them. Now, why I bring kind of this case study here is to look at how they pick the names. Now, I looked into how police undercover these kind of people operated, and a lot of them use colour names as their last names. You know, so things like green and black, and brown and pink and grey, and white, but you can't see it there. I put pink there because of that guy from Doctor Who recently. But these are all good names, you know, they're quite short, you don't really remember them, they're not foreign, or, you know, they're kind of strong, trustworthy names. So if you're picking a name for yourself, I think that any of these last names is a great one to use. I can't remember how I chose green, or at least, so I can't confirm that was how I got to it. But anyway, I'll carry on. Now, some people don't worry, like, you know, is it okay to lie to people on the internet? And I guess I go through the experience that I have myself. So this is an email I got a while ago now. It's from a person called Rose Sober. And I read it through a couple of times, and like the more I looked at it, the more I thought that like actually this person, she's pretending to know who I am, but she's not really registering who I am, you know. And it's actually, I begin to suspect that this was some kind of a scam. You know? Maybe this might have happened to one or two of you as well. And it turned out it's like kind of a 419 scam, they call it, which is where people will they'll say there's someone else, and they'll kind of offer you millions of pounds in a split in some kind of illegal thing or whatever. So the Metro said that this was worth loads of money. So there is good money in this kind of practice. And you know, like if it's good enough for the police, then surely it's good enough for your company, I think. And there's kind of there's an art historical context to all of this, you know, like there things like the Luther Blissett movement, the Italian avant-garde movement in the early 90s, where lots of artists and activists and stuff all produced all their material under this name Luther Blissett, and this was quite a revolutionary thing of lack of ownership, and it was really good work. And so. And more recently, like the Janus Jansa collective, who the three of them kind of changed their names to the same name as the president of Slovenia, but like properly, you know, like on the passports and that. And so if you're picking yourself a new name, you're not alone in doing this. You know, there is kind of a cultural validity to this kind of practice. All right, so next. Is that photograph that I showed you earlier that may or may not look like me. Or in a sense, I think looks more like me than photographs of me, I guess, in a sense. So when you're picking what illustration you're going to make for your company, you know, let's say this is what you look like, you know, and that might be you, and that's what you'll like every day. But this, like, no, it wouldn't be good on the top of your website. You know, people aren't going to buy into that really. So maybe like this would be better. You know? And so this image here is truer in a sense because it's what you want to be like. You know, and images like this are easy to find. So like if you just kind of Google like successful businessmen and you go to the image section, you know, you'll kind of get images like this. And I mean, I particularly like the ones of businessmen celebrating. I think that's a really kind of positive image for a company. But thumbs up is good too. Any of them is fine actually, you know. And so what you're trying to do with this is kind of build a kind of new reality around your customer, you know. And so in a sense, I may have been a bit wrong about the initial Facebook reading, because I was talking about self-actualization and this kind of constructing an ideal self, but maybe it's more about constructing a self that the customer wants, you know. And this might actually be true of all how we use Facebook in general. So it's something to be wary of, I guess. One of my Facebook friends shared this image a few months ago. Your smile is your logo, your personality is your business card. How you leave others feeling after having an experience with you becomes your trademark. And I think it really nicely sums up this kind of merger of kind of commerce and identity and life, you know, into this single whole. And that's what we're trying to do, isn't it? Right, so then I've done this lecture a few times, and I kind of mentor some people for quite a lot of money, and they sometimes they stop me at this stage and have said, like, Michael, I've been reading The Guardian, you know, and I mean, first I'd say, you know, like, no internet marketer has business reading The Guardian, really. But if you are going to read it, you know, you'll come across things like this, and they were saying, you know, it's all very well and good me like picking a name and picking this great image for myself and all that, you know. But like when the NSA know that it isn't true, you know, like, and that when they know that this me that I'm saying I am and this me on the internet aren't the same person, you know, or they'll find me out or whatever. And I have a few answers for them, I guess. Like, the first one is really to dispute this notion of the single self, you know, the kind of, the person that you are at an interview, say, isn't the same person that you are at home, you know. Me talking to you now like this isn't the same as how I am at home with my wife and kids, you know, like I am in different roles in different situations. And so maybe there's something a bit wrong with the kind of the single self model, you know, this that are often kind of tied to kind of bodily things, and this is becoming more and more the case, and you'll see this. So fingerprints and irises and kind of CCTV everywhere, you know, and like things like passports as well, and that thing that I said before about the selected photo looking more like me than me. Well, like, your passport photo is actually what you look like, you know, not what you actually look like, if you know what I mean. Like, officially I look like this, not like this, you know. And then bodies get like all this stuff tied to them. So I picked this identity at random here, this person called Simon Farry. And they get all this kind of data stuck to them, and a lot of it isn't chosen, you know. So he didn't pick that he was born on 31st of March '87, you know, and has this passport number assigned to him that he has no say in what the number is. Until recently, I thought that this number was for life, but actually you get a new passport number each time you get a new passport. But it's not just the passport number, you know, like so many numbers will be assigned to each kind of body identity in their lifetime. And so here are some for him. And those are kind of, these are all kind of utility and state-based numbers, but there are kind of the more important numbers nowadays are things like your credit card numbers. You know, these are how you're monitored in culture more regularly, you know. And so it's the things you use, it's your credit card, debit card numbers, your phone numbers, like your email address, of course, you know. And then it kind of, the kind of confirmation works both ways, doesn't it? So you also need you need your knowledge identifier to make the card work, and passwords and signatures less so these days, you know. But this is how these identities are constructed. Me there actually, and just before I get back to that stuff I was talking about with The Guardian, just to point out that also I was doing some good marketing there, because although none of you asked it today, someone had asked me this question, and responding to people's questions is a good way to make them think that your company cares about them, you know. And a lot of advertising is about this. It's about kind of trying to get the customers to think that think that you care about them and value them, and that you're more than just, you know, a company that's trying to squeeze every last penny out of them, you know. So yeah, so if ever you can get a question and respond back to it, that's a positive thing to do. Right, so back to the Guardian stuff. I'll kind of run through a bit of what it said, because it is quite important for internet marketing and kind of identity construction in general these days. So the internet monitoring program, which is what my kind of mentorees were asking me about, it's currently run by the National Security Agency, which is the kind of the communications spying agency in America. The initial internet monitoring stuff actually started after 9/11 and was part of this other agency called the Information Awareness Office, which shut down in about 2004 or so. I'll bring up their logo bigger because I think it's quite an amazing thing to see. I just think it's amazing that anyone thought that was an okay logo for a government agency, you know, or kind of what. Yeah, isn't it? And kind of what was the kind of commissioning process for how this logo comes about, you know? But so after a couple of years it was closed down, but the kind of the internet monitoring stuff went back into the NSA. This is the headquarters of the NSA in Fort Meade in Maryland. But of course, being a kind of spying monitoring agency, it spreads out all over the world, you know. So it has lots of different facilities in the US. This is a photo by an artist called Trevor Paginen, who really does amazing work. He takes photographs of these facilities, but you can't get close to them at all. So this is taken at about 20 miles away or so with extremely long exposures. I've highlighted the facility for you there. And this is another one of his, and that's where it is. But yeah, but of course they kind of are looking outwards. They're not just the internal facilities, are they? So this is a map of kind of how much monitoring takes place in each country, and they have facilities elsewhere. So we have some in England. This is RAF Penrith, which is in Harrogate in Yorkshire. It's not going to be confirmed as an NSA one, but it is kind of widely acknowledged as being so. These kind of circles I've read that they're kind of listening stations, but I don't know what that means really. But it can't be good, you know. And then like, you know, they cooperate with others. So we have our own NSA called GCHQ, that stands for Government Communications Headquarters, and its headquarters is in Cheltenham. And the kind of the big thing that the Guardian picked up on was a program called PRISM, which actually us internet marketers have been talking about for years. This you know, but back then we were kind of thought of like this, you know, as a kind of conspiracy theorist, or you know, this kind of thing. The kind of person that thinks maybe the moon landings weren't real because the shadow's in the wrong place, or there's no stars, or that kind of thing, you know, or think that Kennedy was shot by the FBI or even the NSA, actually. But that changed with this guy, because he showed real evidence, you know, like it wasn't just testimony anymore, it was, you could read through what they'd actually used, you know. And this allowed the Guardian to print it and to tell us what was happening, you know, which was kind of a really large-scale spying operation on everyone that used the internet ever, you know. And so they published some of the kind of the actual kind of material that the NSA was using. So like some slideshows. So like this one. So I'm going to run through one of those now. And this is the actual slideshow of used in the NSA, and it was kind of to explain how PRISM works to other NSA workers. I'll start by telling you what the kind of the red stuff at the top, what those notations mean. So top secret is, you know, it's quite explanatory. It means it's secret. It's top secret is the second highest level of secrecy that they have there. SI just means specific information, which it is, you know. ORCON means originator controls dissemination. So just who wrote it, it dictates who gets to see it, you know. And probably the most interesting or important one is no foreign, which means no foreign nationals. So only Americans are allowed to see these. Which actually, I think, goes back to what I was saying earlier about kind of identities being stuck to your body and not being chosen and this kind of thing, you know. Because obviously this is of interest to us, you know, despite I assume most of us not being Americans. So this is what they were like, and this is what this one said. What this second slide does is explains. It's supposed to be about prison, but this is actually talking more about Upstream, which is another program that they used. But it's explaining the kind of the physicality of the internet. That if I send you an email from my home in Welland Hatfield, say, and you're here in Norwich, that the information might well travel through America's borders before getting to you. And that's a physical process, like I think that we very much think of digital information as immaterial now. But there is a whole physical infrastructure that carries this, and the memory is stored physically. It's despite this kind of notion of a cloud. It's not actually a cloud. It's just a big facility that holds it. And some artists, you know, I mean, I think it's an idea that has been around for a while. Is kind of interrogating this physicality, and it might even be a bit boring now, but it was really crucial for how this flying stuff works. So this is a piece by Nina Canal, and it's just showing one of the kind of subterranean cables that runs between England and America and around the world. Or recently, John Gerard's had a great show where this was showing one of Google's storage facilities, essentially, and this is where a lot of the internet is kept, you know. And so that was kind of how Upstream worked, was that it would tap these cables and lift information that way. Prism, on the other hand, was much more about kind of building in backdoors with companies. So would talk to Gmail and say, we need to see those emails, you know. And so here it says that you should be using both of these, you know. And if you're picking stuff up almost at random or wholly that is travelling over these over kind of the upstream cables, and you're talking with Facebook and Google and all, you know, so like actually how to talk isn't mentioned here, but we were doing this as well. But it's more that like everyone, you know, it's not that it was a choice to do it. This is how power works, you know. It's that often, like I think we attribute a lot of choice to power that it almost doesn't have in a sense. And so the kind of to look at these slides that the NSA made, I think there are two things you can really take from them. The first is kind of the lack of kind of graphic design, you know, that these and this is something that I kind of, as you can see with how my material looks, is I really don't think you should focus on graphic design so much. It's all about numbers, about customers, and about getting people from the top to the bottom of the page. And if it looks very pretty, then it's, you know, that's distracting in a sense. And look, and these people, this is a very technologically advanced, you know, and yet they're using this kind of a slide. So I think that kind of backs me up. And the second is just how extensive this was and is. You know, there's been lots of discussion about it since, but like nowhere has anyone said they're not going to do this anymore. So you should be aware of that when you're constructing your internet identities and your companies. Is to just kind of work with a running knowledge that this is being monitored, you know, that someone is reading this. And so you know, my people stop me and say, well then Michael, this is all for naught, isn't it? You know, how can we do these things that you were saying, and make this new name, make this new picture, start this company if people know that it's not true, you know? And there's this is a famous picture early on in the internet that said, you know, like on the internet nobody knows you're a dog, you know, and this was all about how no one could tell who you were. And I'd say like now the NSA does know that you're not a dog, for sure. And it would generally be able to say who you are exactly, even if you're not using your name, or even if you don't use Facebook, it can pinpoint you from the people around you. But this doesn't matter for internet marketing so much because you're not selling to the NSA. Like if your company was only selling internet marketing products to security workers, then you need to take a different direction, you know. But the stuff I'm talking about here is just the public, you know, and they don't get to tap cables or have backdoors into Gmail and this kind of stuff. So you just need to be a bit careful in certain things, and you won't get caught out. So the big problem one is the debit card ones that I was showing you earlier. It's quite hard to get stuff done on the internet without paying, and it's quite hard to pay without that being tracked. And that is how Michael Green could be traced back to me. So there will be websites that tell you who has bought a specific domain, and so as you can see here, even though I've managed to still use Michael Green, there's an address there too, and that address is trackable. So you could you could then go to the land registry, and you can only pay £12, and then you can pick any address in England and ask, and so essentially get a printout of who bought it and for how much and when. And so with that address, that tied that address back to me. I mean, that's still kind of backdated because that's just when I bought it, it's not current. So, but then you could go to the electoral register, which is just, it will be in your kind of the main library for each district. And you'd ask for the most recent one, and you'd go to the address, and then you'd find out that I was still living there the last year, you know. And so you need to be careful of this kind of thing, because if someone wants to, they will find you out this way, you know. But other than that, so as long as you're careful about this money stuff, the rest isn't too bad. The rest is mostly like if you've seen that film Catfish, it's about people that can seduce other people over the internet, and they're not real, and it's really worth watching if you're interested in internet marketing. And so what that says, it essentially is just social media stuff, you know. So you kind of make a Facebook account and make a Twitter account and make a LinkedIn, and the more of these you make and link together, the more real this looks, you know. So you kind of leverage one against the other. And then you can do things like you can buy Twitter followers. So there are two ways of doing this. One is just to get a load of robots to follow you for not much money. And the other more one I use is you pay a company to take over your Twitter, and they'll follow like thousands of people, and in the hope that those people will follow you back. And if they do follow you back, then you've got an extra follower. And if they don't follow you back, then they unfollow that person. So yeah, check out how many followers I've got. And then if once you get famous enough, you might be on Wikipedia. It might be worth keeping an eye on what's happening there, you know. But that's another thing that it can catch you out. So kind of be careful where you edit it from, and make sure that IP address is not traceable to you, you know. And if you do all these things carefully, then in the end we approach an internet that resembles the kind of the Venetian masked fall in the past. You know, this kind of this interaction where we're all hidden from each other, and that kind of that stuff I was saying about the robots following you. That maybe you could even you can look forward to a time when maybe none of us are having anything to do with the internet anymore. It's just robots following robots, and it's robots making their own identities and other ones interacting with them, and and then they're creating this perfect sellable identity that is selling to other robots, and if you get this right, if you can project this family, then you'll end up with people literally fighting to give you money, and And you can see how important like the face is in culture. So like, I mean, here's some examples of kind of businessmen who make lots of money and seem to, because of kind of force of identity, seem to hide what it's really about in a sense, you know. And so there's a lot to learn from these kind of people. And right, so next people will stop me and say, okay, or sometimes I do this as a kind of week by week lesson, and so you get given your homework, pick a name, you know, the next week pick a face, and so on. Don't worry about the NSA, it's okay. And then they stop me and say, Michael, I've done all this stuff, you know. Why isn't my company looking like this now? You know, why haven't I made any money yet? And that's because there's still one more thing to go, which is the product. You know, like it's all well and good being extremely trustworthy and likable, and this is great, but you still need to sell something, you know. And so I'm going to now introduce to you Traffic Paymaster, which I mentioned earlier. Now, I'm going to be up front here. I'm not trying to sell this to you today. I'm going to use it as a case study only. If you really want to buy it, you can twist my arm at the end. But really, like, I'm kind of using it both in terms of what it did as a model for how you can develop a product, and it itself as a product is brilliant. So let's start here. Let's say this is your website in a minute, you know, and I think it looks great. But how do you go from that to this, you know? What I like to call a kind of a money site. And money sites are they're relatively easy to do. All you have to do is like all these hundreds of things, and then you'll be making money, you know. And people stop me in their right when they say, you know, like that's a lot of work, you know. Like, I don't think you don't go into internet marketing for the hard work, you know. That's not why you're in this business. And I really I think that's right, you know. Like, we've all experienced capitalism, you know. We've seen that, like, if you're working very hard in a job you don't like, it's probably you're being paid less, you know. That the people that are suffering are the hard workers, you know. You know, I mean, it's clear to see. Whereas your CEO is the people at the top, you know. Like, I mean, and I'm sure, like, here's the guy back here, you know, who would say he's put in the hours, you know, he works really hard and all that, but he's engaged in his job, isn't he? Like, there's a reason why he isn't then going and working in a factory anyway. Like, he must get something from it, you know. So what the lesson is, if you look back at these two images, is that kind of if you're working hard then you're doing it wrong, you know. Then you've been tricked in some way. Essentially, and I think especially like taken to touring this round art spaces now as well, you know. And I think this is a different crowd to the kind of business crowd that I usually get, and so tend to be kind of very, very aware of the functioning of capital and labour and all this stuff, but it's still kind of very focused. Like, I think this image by Jamie Deller is a really productive one for us to look at now, and to really get out of the habit of identifying with William Morris in this picture, to rather, like, I think what we're trying to do now is to think of yourself as the boat from now on, you know. And you can see that for myself as well. Like I said, you know, like, I only work 1 day a week, and I've got 2 planes. So there you go, you know. So how can I make all this money whilst only working 1 day a week and not working hard even, you know? And that's where this software came in, Traffic Paymaster. And people just stop me and say, you know, like, they've heard these kind of promises on the internet before, you know, and this is, you know, there must be some kind of snake oil salesman or, you know, kind of confidence tradesman. But really, it's kind of the process is really quite linear and quite simple to explain. So I will. It's like I said, it's internet marketing. So there's a lot of money in advertising. Advertisers pay you if people are looking at your site, they'll pay you money to carry their messages too. And so if you have lots of people coming to your site, then advertisers will pay you more money because more people are seeing it. You know, so yeah, it's almost a straight graph. I mean, this one kind of curves up a little bit, but this is just an illustration. It's not the actual graph. And so the way to get lots of viewers to your website is primarily these days is primarily through Google. It's kind of in the West at least it acts as kind of gatekeeper to the internet, you know. And most people's start and end of their internet is with Google. And if you're not on the first page, then you're nowhere really. I think I've read that maybe 89% of visitors don't get past the first page of results on Google. And as you can see with How to Cop, if you search How to Cop, I'm the first one, you know, on what is a very common search. And so how did I do this? So like I said, it's just doing all these things, and your site will be higher in Google. Google really responds to new content, so the more new content that you're filling your page with every day, all the time, the higher it gets up. I'll illustrate it with this picture I took from The Simpsons. Right now, like, you can think of the internet as all these monkeys of work, like everyone just typing away, making new content all the time, videos and blogs and journalism and art stuff and all that stuff. And you're doing that too. You're one of them, But what the goal should be is for you to try and be the kind of the Mr. Burns in this picture, to be looking on the rest of the internet and using this content that they're all generating for yourself, And that's what Traffic Paymaster did. It would search the internet and it would copy content from other people and it would put it into your site for you automatically. Like I said, just searching around and putting in all this new stuff all the time. And this meant more visitors, and more visitors meant more money, And so often people pause me there and say, Michael, is this allowed? That sounds like a great idea, but are you allowed to do that on the internet? And again, I have a few answers for the people that ask that kind of thing. The first one is that there isn't an internet police. Google isn't a state; it's just a company. And so this kind of scraping is against their rules, but they're just it's just a company. So don't worry too much about getting on the wrong side of Google. And then again, there's a context to this question of copying, isn't there? So I was around in the early days of the internet when Napster was a thing. I don't know if you remember it now. And this was about if I had some music and I'd upload it, and then lots of other people could have it. And do you remember that old advert at the start of films? This kind of you wouldn't steal a car, would you? That kind of notion. And it never got round the issue of that. Yeah, you wouldn't. If you had a car, I wouldn't steal your car. But if I could make an exact copy of your car, and you still had your car, and I also had a car, that's not quite the same as stealing your car, And so what Traffic Paymaster is doing is saying that everyone should have cars, And actually, if you think about how the internet is functioning now, really we're all typing away, even Traffic Paymaster users in a sense, and instead of sorry, I got that one a bit wrong. That should say that Google is Mr. Burns, because they are, because Google uses everyone's content to make its own money, both in terms of doing searches, and it copies everything to put it into the search. But also that everything you type in kind of refines its algorithm and helps it make more money in the future. So this kind of copying is already taking place. And yeah, that's of course before we mentioned the NSA and GCHQ. They're also copying everything you write. So Traffic Paymaster, in a sense, is just mimicking what what Upstream and Prism were doing, you know. And like you may have seen, I like to kind of like link my processes to kind of art historical examples, and loads of art is about copying, you know, and about kind of rerouting through copying and this kind of thing. So the Andy Warhol situation is, or whatever, like even there's no need to go into it in a sense. And so you can almost look at it as copying as being this kind of almost revolutionary, kind of challenging act to capital and to authority. And copying works in other ways too. So like, so if you look at these people, you know, they don't kind of copy an idea. Rather, because they've got money, they buy someone else's idea and use it. You know, in a sense, is that not copying too? They haven't had the idea yet. They're making money off the idea. You know, and culture is based on copying. You know, so if something works, then they'll just make it again and again, and it'll make money again and again. And so Traffic Paymaster is just another one of these things, you know. And yeah, so here it is. And so there's a list of the things that it does. Like I said, I'm not trying to sell it to you. If you did want to buy it, it usually costs $500, but for today only, I'm going to offer it to you for $297. And that comes with a guarantee of making you $20,000 in 20 days, or your money back, and that's guaranteed. But yeah, I don't want to sell it to you. I'm just using it as this example. And yeah, and like really, the key lesson to take from it is this that I said in my most exclusive special report is there's no point reinventing the wheel. Don't try and do something innovative or different or new or exciting. You know, just copy what already exists, what you've seen work already, and then you'll be a success in culture too. Yeah. So once again, Traffic Paymaster, and if you follow the Traffic Paymaster lessons and some of the other stuff that I said as well, then like if you picture yourself in this race, you might end up being this race of businessmen racing, you know. You might be this businessman at the front. And so yeah, I'm pretty much finished now. Just to recap, yeah. So your first job is to focus on a good, trustworthy, honest name, you know, and couple that with a picture that looks as much like you as you want to look like, if you get what I mean. Don't worry about the NSA and stuff. This is only really high-level marketers that are getting caught up with this kind of thing. And find something good to copy. Get good at copying it, and then naturally equal this happy life that I guess is what we're all in this for in the end, you know. Yeah. So like have a look through our website and at some of the other products that we offer. We have very good customer satisfaction, as evidenced by this picture here. And so, yeah, for now, I've been Michael Green. This talk was funded and made possible by these people and the Norwich Art Centre, of course. So yeah, so visit the website howtocorp.org. Follow me on Twitter. I tweet lots of kind of like motivational business talk stuff, you know, and also connect with me on Facebook, because like connecting is, in a sense, it's the end of marketing in a way, you know. Thank you.